So one of the things that that I thought was very handy was on your website you have this graph, and in essence you don't have to be an electrical engineer to see that the Amprius battery pack, when it talks about C rate, you can see that going on pretty much infinitum, and you can see that in essence the best that the graphite type batteries can do is around 3C. So this is kind of exactly what you want if you're trying to lift off an aircraft. And as most of you know, I was in the aircraft industry for quite a bit. We designed our own airplane. Didn't work. We decided to do that just before the banks all melted. But in your business, this is a brand new industry. This is the industry that I think a lot of us are going to think is kind of like the George Jetson. We finally made it to George Jetson's flying car kind of a thing. This is a big industry. Can you elaborate a little bit on what kind of money and whatnot is available here?
That's a great question. So the short answer is that flying vehicles, and this is data that we've assembled from analysts, in 2025 will be within 90 or over 90% of the total available market for batteries in electric vehicles. So putting numbers around that, the forecast is that batteries for electric vehicles in 2025 will be somewhere around 65 billion USD, and about 50 something billion for flying vehicles. And that brings multiple flying vehicle categories together. That means uncrewed as well as crewed, i.e. the urban air mobility, flying car type, as well as high altitude sort of pseudo satellites. It's a collection of these flying craft that sum to a total available market of in the 50 billion. So it's a big market.
Yeah, well, anytime you see the aircraft industry and the auto industry coming up with almost the same numbers, you're looking at an industry that is boundless, I guess, when it comes to the amount of revenue that can come back. And I don't want to dwell too much on how much things cost and whatnot, but one question I did have was, are you going to be moving into the auto industry, or are you going to stay in aircraft, or how is that working for you? Because your battery pack would instantly drop the weight of a car by about, well, let me rephrase that. For sure, it'll drop the price, or sorry, the weight of the battery pack with the same amount of power and energy in it. I'm guessing like about 50 or 60%. Is that correct? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's about right.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the answer is our intention is to be a mainstream battery purveyor, covering all categories in mobility primarily, potentially consumer electronics, albeit we're not really focused on that segment. It's really mobility. The first market that we're addressing is air mobility and uncrewed, unmanned, if you will, today and going forward in the next few years, certainly. And we're planting the seeds today for that. And that's the urban air mobility, that is the flying cars. As we scale, and the scaling will be driven by the markets that we're addressing today, we'll have the footprint, manufacturing footprint, to start to address in a serious way electric vehicles, because our price point will start coming down, our costs will benefit from economy of scale, and of course the manufacturing capacity that we've built out for the markets that we're addressing.
There's a good point. I think we talked about your Colorado facility, and is this going to be a modification? We haven't even talked about the new dynamic that you've got in your battery, but let's just get this one out of the way. Is there going to be any changes that you're going to have to make with the new chemistry that you've got at all? No?
No. So this doesn't change the manufacturing per se. This is a cell design with regard primarily to the sort of design of the electrodes. And fundamentally, it's the design of the cathode. The anode is basically the same across all our products. The loading, that is the mass loading, might be a little different across different categories of product, but it's the cathode that fundamentally changes.
Yeah.
And that is really what gives us this variation in power, energy, or a combination of the two.
So how much different is this new released battery? How much more oomph did it have over the one that we talked about when I was down there?
What the evolution is between, or what the evolutionary aspects of this cell versus the cell that we demoed to you when you visited, which was the ultra high charge, the ultra fast charge, or as it's called, extreme fast charge, which is the 6 minutes to 80% state of charge. So this cell also demonstrates that, but it goes even higher on the discharge and has higher energy density to boot. What does that mean? The cell that we demonstrated to you has about 360 watt hours per kilogram at C/5. That's the nominal specific energy. This cell has 400 watt hours per kilogram at C/5. And so you can see that it's a non-trivial, it's a significant bump in the basic energy content, that is energy per unit weight. And it also sustains very high C rates and the extreme fast charge. So it's a significant step function that really exploits the fundamentals of our innovation, which is the anode.
Well, anytime you can get a bump of 25+%, you're doing things in the right direction. Actually, that leads us right into the next question I've got. You talked about how quickly you can charge, but maybe what we should talk about is this 0 to 60 number, which is astounding. Yeah. And this is in a vehicle. This will be in a Tesla or something like that, not a truck or something. But anyway, yeah, I'll just hold on to my chair so I don't go flying into orbit when you talk about this.
So as far as we understand, the sort of world record for acceleration 0 to 60 nominal is around 1.5 seconds. And so it's not a hard sort of sell to equate this offering with achieving that or better, because clearly we have the oomph, the power that would certainly enable that kind of performance, and also sustain lots of range. So the two are really important to have in a practical vehicle or race car, if you will.
Well, a lot of the products that are coming out right about now that are electric are supercars, and 0 to 60 in a second and a half would probably make them very, very happy. The other thing that just dawned on me, when you're talking about race car speeds and this kind of thing, I went to the Formula E, like the F1, only this is the Formula E races in Portland. They didn't go for very far. It was kind of like a very quick race. If you could equate that to your batteries, then you'd be looking at, I think the whole, with crashes and everything else, I don't think we're there much more than about 45, let's say an hour. But if you had your battery packs in there, we'd be now looking at 3 hours of race time, correct? Am I doing
Well, it
that right?
depends on
Three times.
how it's configured. So if it's no change in weight,
Well, no, the weight
then
would be less because obviously they would the weight basically is the weight of the batteries. That's
yes.
what's
But if we
slowing.
kept the same weight, let's just start with
Oh,
that.
yeah, okay,
If
yes,
we
I see.
kept the same weight,
Yeah,
then we'd
gravimetric.
have a
Yeah,
significant boost in
yeah,
range
right.
because we'd have at least a 50%.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what these race cars contain, but my guess is that 50% is the bare min improvement, and it's more likely a factor of 2 because race cars
okay,
require very high power
right.
cells, and high power cells that sustain these very high uh, watts per kilogram usually have very low energy density.
Yeah.
And we could get most likely at least a factor, not at least, likely a factor of 2 in terms of range improvement, maybe
Mm,
3.
I'm thinking 3 because, quite frankly, everything that I see on your gravimetric and volumetric tells me I can't imagine it being anything less than 3. But
Yeah, the numbers are probably right because I think that these high power cells are typically less than 200 watt hours per kilogram, probably closer to 150 nominal watt hours per kilogram. And if we're delivering 400, then
yeah,
you're getting close to a factor of 3.
and that's where I was coming from. I just did the
Yeah.
little, 1 versus 4. I mean, it doesn't take me long to sort that one out. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think this could be a big boost to the Formula E. People want to see a lot more action. Actually, one guy complained. He says, "Well, it doesn't make any noise." And some kid had told me, I gave a speech, and some kid in the was standing there, and somebody said something like that, and he turned around and he says, "The Starship Enterprise doesn't make any noise." Hey, you're right. Yeah, and it goes plenty fast. So that's kind of, I think people get used to that after a while. I mean, normally you have to have this kind of stuff and earplugs and everything else in order to survive an F1 race, especially if you're right on the fence. But I got up close and personal, watched these things flying around, and to me it was absolutely amazing how quick they can go and the maneuvering that they can come up with. I think with your batteries, maybe you should talk to the F1 guys and see what you can do. You got Runkle.
Well, we actually do talk
Wait a minute,
to
you got
those
Runkle.
guys.
He knows all these racing characters. So yeah, go and poke him and say, "Hey, Don, how about it?" And because I think they use nothing but the Lucid electric motor, which I think is the best, and then putting your batteries in there would give the E1 guys, or sorry, the Formula E racers probably a big boost. I think they really go
Yeah.
for that.
The thing, however, as I understand it, is for the Formula E, every battery has to be the same.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And every
Yeah, they
electric
have to
motor is
be
the same too.
yes,
So
yes.
instead of just making sale on one battery pack,
Right, right,
I mean, I
right.
think there was 24 or 26 people that signed up initially, and they narrowed it down to something. But hey, selling 24 battery packs and getting your name stuck on the side of every Formula E car wouldn't be such a bad thing. Tell Runkle he owes me 2 beers now. So
Yeah, actually, that's our target for our first foray into electric vehicles,
yeah.
to get into race cars, actually.
Well, I think if you can talk to the guys at the Formula E and tell them, hey, I can get you a longer race, I think they would be sitting up and taking notice.